Um, Thank you very much for your invitation. Brano asked me to get out of the topic of green roofs and introduce you a little bit and talk about green walls. So I invite you to imagine your way to your green roof. And My name is Elisabeth. I'm representing the Innovation and Research Lab of Austria, which was invented or initiated in 2017. So the last 5 years, we set up this innovation lab, which is owned by the Austrian Association for Greening Buildings. We got funded the last 5 years of the Ministry of Climate Change, Climate Adaptation and Energy. We are one of several innovation labs besides the innovation lab for solar green, solar engineer, but also for renovation. So in Austria, we set up now a lot of innovation lab or the ministry, and GRÜNSTATTGRAU set up the innovation lab for green roofs and green walls. We grow really fast within the last 5 years. We started with a network of 60 members. Now we have 380 from different sectors, from either the business sector, where we have from substrate suppliers, gardeners, business developers, real estate developers, up to the scientific sector, because we are also collaborating with universities and other research institutions. And we are also strongly collaborating with cities in order to support them by helping them to find their strategy, how to implement green roofs or green walls in their strategy, how to set up subsidies or fundings. And we are based in Vienna, so the neighbors. And our company form is a non-economic and independent one. So we're representing the Austrian-wide network and coordination center for greening buildings. Beside that, we are also the office for the EFB, which was already mentioned by Dusty before. So we are represented in 15 other countries with the European Federation, and we do a lot of exchange, and like we've already experienced here with the standards and the certifications and events and so on. Some highlights of the achievements of GRÜNSTATTGRAU. When we look in the past, the Austrian Association was already funded almost 30 years ago. The European Federation almost 25 years ago. And our first green roof standard was published in 2010. So currently we are rewriting on this standard to implement green roof standards for biodiversity green roofs, solar green roofs, and a lot of things changed or developed the last 10 or 12 years. And we are currently working on that. 2017, the indoor standard came out, and last year we published, with the Austrian Standard Institute, of course, the first green wall standard. As far as I know, we are the first ones in Europe, but also in the world. Pavel already mentioned it, we started to have a look on our green market. in order to provide decision makers with data to show them that the green roof sector, the green wall sector is actually actively doing something for climate change adaptation. So, as we know, we are a little bit under pressure, and all of you might have experienced it already, and I don't think I have to tell you all the benefits and effects on green roofs, but might not us, but it's always the others who did it. But we built our cities. We created our own desert with black surfaces, with a lot of glass, with sealed surfaces and reflecting surfaces. So we turned our cities more in gray than in green. So wouldn't it be nice to take all these green benefits we can have from nature-based solutions, from green-blue infrastructure to our cities, to bring back biodiversity, microclimate, enhancing our microclimate, use it for rainwater management, and of course protecting our buildings to optimize the outer layer of a building. And who else we are always going to the parks to release our stress or going away on the weekend. So why we don't put the green into our cities, to the place we are living, where we are working. And the summers are getting hotter. The prognosis of the heat days will double within the next 100 years. So hot town summer in the city. We have already measured a lot. There are a lot of studies done the last years. And we can see clearly an effect on how we can cool down with green walls, streets. So this is an example of a building of the waste department of the city of Vienna. And you can see we have here up where it's green, we have measured 28 Celsius, and on the dark area, the dark ground area of the building was measured 45. So also the surf and the white facade had a temperature from 38. So you can really see the impact what a surface, the color of a surface can have on the heat island effect in a street. And of course, it's all about the money. Here's a study done over 6 years in Berlin. It's the Technical University. They had the focus to decentralize the rainwater management, bring up green facades. They put on the facade 150 plant pots with 9 different climbers. And they had a direct comparison of an area where the building was shadowed by the climbers, by plants, and with the normal shadow rouleaux you can see here. And the outcome of this 6-year study was that the running costs of the naturally shaded part of the building were way lower than the one of the normal shadowed part. So they had lower investments costs, lower running costs, better performance of the building, and of course it's better for the environment, and you have happy users inside and in the surrounding of the building. And how will you know all of these benefits? We have summarized them all up in a document. It's in German, unfortunately, but you might guess or use Google Translate. They are all on our website in our download area. I have, I think, 2 copies here. So it's a nice overview about all the studies about green roofs and green walls, and also indoor green, which were done in the last years. And of course, there are already a lot of people who are motivated, and they are doing something already. And some projects are coming to us because they need some help, or it's not working. So when you're planning green walls, it might seem to be complex at the first time, but if you have a short look on some technical stuff, or what if you have a look what on the plant's needs, then it's not that you don't have to be afraid of it. But as we can see here, ivy. I think some I'm sure you know the plant. Ivy is a plant you have to be a little bit carefully. It's avoiding sun, and it needs the facade, so it doesn't need any climbing trellis or something like this. Or if you you do the maintenance wrong, you can have it all down on the street as well. And the lack of quality, or the lack of processes at the construction site, the wrong processes on the construction site. I'm sure you know it from the green roof constructions, and it's really important to have a look on the needs on the plants. Otherwise, they might think that we don't care about them. So you don't have to invest in a climbing trellis when the plant is a self-climber. There are also different species of plants you have to consider when you choose it. And the ivy is, I come back to it. So we got the power, we have the standards, and I'm happy that you also have the green roof standards now here. And of course, there are a lot of city guidelines already existing about green walls, but also green roofs. So in Austria, we put them in 5 categories. We divide them into the ground-based with self-climbers. We have ground-based with climbing trellis. We have pot-based green walls. Either it's in the soil, or on the street level, or on the building. And we have these wall-bounded systems where we divide in linear and full-surfaced ones. So if you want to start your project, you have to check it out now before you start. What kind of space you have available, who is the owner of the building, is it also on the street side, do we have to involve the city, the exposition regarding rain, wind, sun, etc., the fire regulations. In inner cities, you also have to face or check the monumental protection if you're in a historical zone. The statics, of course, and if any connections for irrigation, for water or electricity are available, or if you have to install them. For some places, you also have to consider vandalism. For example, at schools, they treat the plants differently than maybe on your house. The accessibility, which can cause higher maintenance or costs if it's quite complex to get there. And of course, the budget, either constructing or also the maintenance. And depending on these factors, you can choose your system, your way, and one of the most used, or because it's also low budget, are working with climbers. So we divide them in self-climbers and those who need the climbing trellis. There are further categories where you divide them, and depending on their growing habit, you have to choose the type of climbing trellis, if it's a rope, a net, or something else. And ain't no wall high enough. You also have to consider or be assured what's your greening goal, how high should the plant grow, and carefully decide what kind of plant you will use. So here we have an example from my hometown, from Salzburg. It's ivy again, well maintained, or also shaped in a heart. So they really love green facades in Salzburg. But you also have to consider that ivy loves dark places. So when you don't regularly have a look on your ivy at home, on your facade, it can cause damages because it loves some cracks and grows inside of them, and can cause damages and but it's ecological. It's really an amazing plant because you have the birds nesting and the blooming for the bees and the food in winter for the birds. Here we have an example of in Vienna. In Vienna, you get also subsidies for green walls, installing green walls. First, you get 200 euros for consulting, and then we have 3,000 euros as a maximum for inner yards, and 5,000 for street side facades. In Vienna, new buildings have to have 20% of their facade covered in green. Then we have this kind of plant pots. You might know it from your balcony when you, in autumn, when you remove them, you have, and you put you put it out. You have a really compact shaped soil in your hand, so it's really important to use mineral substrate, pot friendly substrate, and the layers are done like a green roof, and there are some, it has to be heat and root pressure, plant-friendly substances, and in case you want to optimize the water savements in the substrate, we have geotextiles or other additionally substances. So this is actually a project where we sit together with the city of Vienna. We invited all departments who are involved. If you want to set up or install a plant pot on the street side in front of your house, because the process was really complex and no one wanted to give their signature on the paper. So we sat together, we asked them what are your criteria on the plant pot, and so we did the greening quality assurance, and the different departments were optimizing the process. So at the moment we developed a one-stop shop where you can, if you're interested in, ask or apply for, we call it Berta, the plant pot, and it's an very easy and fast process of having the idea to actually install it, and we are also providing all the planners or gardeners who are installing and maintain it. Here's another example of a pot-based green wall. So also architectural design can be implemented in the climbing trellis. And tomorrow I will also show you another pot-based example where they put it up. There was no space on the ground level, so they put it up on the wall. So another technology is the wall-bounded linear systems. They often are like cascades. So the irrigation, they are automatically irrigated, and also nutrients can be provided over the irrigation system. It's like a second facade. So you have an isolation optimizer, and you also have to consider what kind of plants are above and in the lower part of your systems, because the irrigation is like in cascade and runs through it. The trays can be in different materials like fiber, cement, aluminium, metal constructions. Here you see an example of how it's getting installed. You have the sub-construction, and then the linear pots, and then you see it over there after the construction, and which is already ready to take over, to hand over. And after several months, on the right side on the top, you can see how fast it's growing. And in this case, you can also, it's with substrate, and you can also use self-seeding plants. And in this case, they wanted to have a very pollinator-friendly green wall. Yeah, this wall should not be on fire. So in order to avoid fire passing, in Vienna it's quite strict and very intensely discussed by the city of Vienna. So we have to install this kind of fire protection above each window, and you also have to you can see also on these pictures that here we don't have the gap of 1 meter to the attic, and a few years later the city of Vienna is saying you have to keep a gap of 1 meter to the roof. And then last one, we have this full-served wall-based vertical greening where the plants are in 90 degree in the systems. They can also be modular, and they are mostly pre-cultivated, so after the installation you have your fully covered, you have your facade fully covered in the green, and you have already reached your greening goal. They are a bit expensive in the installation, but you have you have your greening goal immediately. And the trays can be also substrate or also mineral wool and other things. So here you can see a bank who has money to invest it. It's very nice. They also have a lot of pollinator-friendly plants, and especially these kind of wall-bounded green walls, these kind of living walls, they are also very nice even in winter, because when we are working with climbers, you can use the solar energy on your facade, but it doesn't look really nice. You have these branches and so on, and living walls have a really nice structure, and it can be designed and with different types of grasses and other plants. So it's also similar to the linear wall-bounded facade greening, and the one we saw with the pollinator-friendly plants, it's maintained once a year. It's in end of March, beginning of April, they maintain it. And yeah, of course, you have to also be aware of the irrigation if the irrigation system is broken down, or there's an emergency call for it, you also have to make sure that this person who gets informed is not on holiday. So it's the process of the information flow is also important to define. And what we are also mainly trying to achieve, that the right experts should be involved right from the beginning of your planning. It's often very hard if things are already decided to implement it. It's possible, but can become also more expensive. So it's involve planners, architects, engineers, for the installation, the gardeners, and the facades engineer, the metal workers. And for the maintenance, we always suggest to ask a professional. Sometimes there are concepts where you can also hand the maintenance over to the people who are living there. There are really nice examples also in England where it's really working well. And you can also think about new ways. We hardly say that there's no solution for a green wall, but you can also think differently or innovative. So in this case, a real estate manager asked us how he can put a green facade on it, but the ground level there was no space for any pot or something, or to open the surface. So in Vienna we have these old houses where you have the cellars, and you have all the irrigation or the water connection and electricity. Mostly they are not used because they are kind of moistured. So in this case we tried to put the root area into the cellar, and it's working quite well. And you can also think different where you can put your plants. So I want it that way, and I hope I could give you a musical way through the greening walls. So thank you very much.
Ďakujeme veľmi pekne, thank you so much. Máme nejaké otázky? Ja to je na fotku, OK. Ja som myslel, že niekto sa tak chce pýtať, že 2 rukami. OK, no questions, OK? OK, thank you so much.
We are just 1 hour away, so in case you have any questions or want to visit us, you're really welcome.
Yes, we are 1 hour away, not you. OK, thank you so much.